Hi there! Today I thought I would show you how I make these little gel print journals. It's super simple, super easy, and it's a great way to use your gel prints that you already have. So I'm going to use this gel print here. It's kind of a beautiful mess. It's kind of why I love it. And I'm just going to use some regular copy paper for the pages here. So I got about 10 sheets here. Yeah, so let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold these copy paper like right in half. That's going to be a little bit bigger than what I need, but that will work for this project. So just fold it straight in half, just like that. And then this one, I'm going to cut this down to size so I don't end up with the white border on there. So I'm going to pull out my cutting tool, paper cutter. And I'm just going to cut this so that I can get the most out of that gel print. So I'm not going to line up the straight edge here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the edge of the gel print with the line, the cut line, as best I can. And we're just going to cut that. And then to make the square, I'm going to use that cut side and go all the way around and just cut them down. Cut it down to size. Now, if you want a certain size, you could actually measure it, but quite honestly, I don't care. I like them all to have a little bit of character, so we're just going to go with whatever size this is. Okay, so I have my cover. It's square. It's too big for this, but that's okay. I'm just going to fold this in half directly the way that I want it to go. So crease right along there. And then I get to decide which side is the cover. This is not totally straight. That's okay. I'll trim it up in a little bit. So which side is going to be the front cover? I'm thinking this way because then I could do a little bit of a collage on the front if I want. Okay, so I got that. I got my inside papers. You can see they're a little too big. I'm going to actually stitch it together first and then I will trim it down to size. Okay, for tools, we want an awl, we want a needle, should be quite thick, doesn't have to be super sharp, and I want some kind of thread. This is a waxed bookbinder's thread, but you can really, for something that's this simple, you can use whatever you want. Even embroidery floss would work for this. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little template to decide where I want my holes. Because I have so much extra material here, I'm just going to cut off a piece of that. So I'm just going to use a pencil to make sure I don't cut off too much. And I'll just cut that right off of the first page. We're going to trim this up anyway, so it shouldn't be a big deal. Okay, and the beauty of this is that it's actually exactly the height that I need. So to decide where the holes are going to go, I'm just going to fold this in half. Like that. And I'm going to fold it in half one more time. Sorry, like this. And then I will take a Sharpie or a pen to sort of mark those spots so I can see them. And then we're going to fold this template in half the long way so that we can put it right in the spine of the book. So what I'm doing is I'm just lining up this side to fold that directly in half, and then I'll line up this side to fold that directly in half, and then I'll just kind of pull it tight and crease it all the way along. This doesn't have to be super precise, it's just a guideline. Okay, so I got my little holes template here. So to make this easier to see, I'm just going to trace the middle line right where those crosses are, right where they cross with the other guide that I made. Okay, so to make the holes, I'm going to take my book pages. I'm just using regular copy paper here. You can use whatever you like. You know, if you like mixed media paper or anything, found paper, that sort of thing, you can do that. That's absolutely no issue at all. So I'm going to do this separately just to make sure that I've got everything in the middle. So we're going to line up the template right in the crease. And then I'm just going to take my awl here and push it through right straight through the middle of that crease, right where that X is. And same for the middle one. And then one more for the other side. This might be easier to turn it around. If you lose your position, just line them up again using your awl. So I'm going to just poke that through there, poke that through there. And then I kind of lined up where it is. And then we're just going to poke the last hole here. Okay, and now let's do the cover. So the cover is slightly smaller, but that's okay. We can kind of just line it up by eye. Poke it through, and one more, we're gonna poke it through, but I'm gonna line this up just so that I make sure it fits exactly where it should be. Okay, so now I have my cover and I have my pages, and I'm gonna put this together and then we'll trim it up. So for your thread, what you want is at least 2 times the height of your book. So there's 1 time with a little bit extra and then another. You can go 2.5 if you want to be safe. So this is doubled over, it's, you know, 2.5. So let's put that on our needle. And then this is super simple. You can decide if you want your end of your thread to be inside the book or outside the book. I do it differently depending on what I want. If you put it outside the book, you can put charms and that sort of thing on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right in the middle, go through that hole, make sure that it's got a bit of a tail there, and then I'm going to go through the hole in the middle of my pages. Go through there, pull it semi-tight, but don't pull it all the way through. And then I'll go up to the top part, through the book pages, and then through the cover. Pull that in. So again, I want it to be, you know, snug, but not all the way through. And then I'm going to jump all the way down to the bottom one. So I'm going to go through the cover and then through the book pages. Make sure I come out right in the middle again. Pull that through. You can kind of hold on to this tail here if you're having a little bit of trouble getting things tight. Okay, and then to finish it off, we're going to go through the middle one again. So this time I like to make sure that the needle comes out on the other side of that outside thread, just to give it a little bit more structural. A little bit more structure. Okay, pull it through. Can take my needle off, and then I just tie a knot right here. It's better to tie a knot around this thread here that goes through the middle, because that way it won't pull out through the middle of your book. So I'm just going to tie an overhand knot like that. And you can trim this off if you want, but I'm going to leave it for now because I'll probably put some charms or some beads or something on there. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, here's the essential book. But now, because my pages are way too big, I'm going to trim that up using my paper cutter. This one, I think I'm going to use the bigger heavy duty paper cutter, just because I've got 10 pages in there. So here's the heavy duty paper cutter. It's got a big blade here. So we're just going to line this up, squish it under there pretty good, line it up along the top edge where I cut my paper before, hold it down nice and tight, and give it a chop. Flip it over, and we're going to do the other side. This only works for books that don't have too many pages in them. If you want bigger books with more pages, you probably want to do this before you bind it together. Okay, that one. And then I'm going to do this last bit here. Let's try and get this straight. So I'm going to line this up along the lines in my paper cutter here. Let's see, we're going to go right at the 12 centimeter mark because that seems to be where my edges are. Okay, hold it down nice and tight. Yeah, that's about the limits of my paper cutter there. So if you end up with some of this stuff where it didn't quite cleanly, you can open it up and recut it that way, or you could just trim it up with a pair of scissors, which is what I'm going to do here. Just trim it up like that. Nice and easy. Okay. So essentially, that's my book. You might want to put some glue here just to make sure it doesn't let go. But look at that. You got a nice, fun little simple journal. So you can dress this up with, you know, all kinds of ephemera. You can put ribbons on it. You can put a closure on it. Super fun little book with a lot of possibilities. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks.